So we are here with Jonathan Becher, who is, he's ready to give us the details on Michael Misa's ELC. Go ahead.
Uh, well, I guess Michael's our 1C starting the season, right?
There you go.
No, no, no offense to Macklin. There you go.
So yesterday, huge win, I would say, for the Sharks. This seems, how long has this taken? I mean, this has to have been one amazing journey.
Yeah, AJ, there's an old joke of how deep is the ocean? And I guess that depends on, where you check. But how long it's taken also depends on, what you use as your starting point. Before I got here, which was 7.5 years ago, discussions had already started on the renewal of the previous year's lease. So you could argue this is more than 7 years. But cities and teams are always in discussion. So I don't think that's quite fair. I think if you look at the concentrated discussion about this particular topic, roughly 2 years ago, and almost every other week for 2 years, with the most concentrated discussions probably September of last year to May. Sorry, yeah, September of last year to May of this year. Lots of stuff post May as well, but most of that had to do with legal. And you may have heard me say this is a 350 to 400 page document. And so even when you think you have agreement to general terms, to kind of walk through everything just takes hundreds of hours of work.
Well, I have to commend both you and the city the way that you guys got this done, because it could have very easily devolved into something, a public spat. We all know what happened to our neighbors in Oakland, how everything just, kept being very vicious and very public. And it was just nice to see you guys took care of all this and you made it public when you had something to actually announce. Now, in those documents that you were talking about, the 16 to 17 page summation,
Yeah.
there were mentions of renovations of plumbing, electrical, HVAC, broadcasting infrastructure. Are there any interesting specifics you can get into that fans would actually notice?
Sure. On the infrastructure side in particular, or do you want me to talk about the fun front of house stuff? I can talk about both. Let's start with infrastructure, which is less fun, but probably the most important part of this. So the elevators, so both on the north and the south side, let's ignore the middle as well. Those are the original elevators that were purchased in 1989, shipped here in 1991. I think they arrived in early 1991 and installed and went live in 1993. For those of you that are probably not in construction or maybe don't know a lot about an elevator, it's relatively unusual for elevators to last 35 years. Now, of course, we've maintained them. You've never been at risk when you're in the elevator, but we've had some elevator problems. They've been out for hours or sometimes days here and there as well. What's particularly interesting to me are some inside hockey that I don't think I've said out loud to anyone before. So, AJ, a mini exclusive for you is that in some cases, the building was built around the elevators as opposed to the elevators installed into existing shafts. That's a very unusual construction technique, which is going to cause us some issues to fix over the next couple of years. But one day, if we didn't replace these elevators, maybe one day soon, AJ would probably be trapped there with only a few beers. And so then he'd be in trouble.
That would be terrible.
Yes. But, all 423 urinals, toilets, bathrooms, etc., are all pretty much original to the building as well. They all have to be replaced, but not just them, but the plumbing that's behind them that goes through the walls that then goes into a central sewage, all that. And I think the number is 112 miles where the piping is going to get replaced as well. So it's not just a cosmetic go down to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever your favorite thing is and buy a new seat. This is a rework the plumbing. Some of the electric system was updated by us a few years ago, but 80% of it is original to the system as well. That's going to get replaced. The emergency backup generators need to be replaced. They're 30 some years old. If you think about the home, apartment, condo you live in and think about all the infrastructure there, we're replacing roughly 90% of all that back of the house stuff.
That is incredible.
It is, AJ. And one of the things you may have heard me say, either because I noticed you were there, thanks for showing up and listening to the very long council meeting yesterday. One of the things you may have heard me say, or I may have mentioned at the press conference after as well, is the vast majority of the things we are collectively spending money on are arena things. They aren't ice hockey things, right? We already replaced a lot of the ice hockey things on our own money. You may remember that during the pandemic, we went and replaced all the water filtration, the ice making facility, the floor itself. You may remember a few years before that, we put in a dehumidifier for hockey as well. The don't call it a jumbotron center hung monitor we replaced, which is not really hockey specific, but you could call that hockey specific. And so
Well,
we
there's even the signage around
that
so
we've
much of.
replaced that as well. And so for things that are not general purpose arena, we've always said we'll spend the money on that. The things that are mostly going to get addressed now, with some exceptions, are things that are general purpose arena that you need for a concert or a corporate event, or even just to come into the building safely.
Can you tell us what the first major renovation will be that, fans will notice?
Well, I guess that depends on the word major. We've already, we optimistically assumed that the city council would approve this deal. And so, like we have every summer since I've been here, and I think every summer for the last 15 or 20 years, we've been doing renovations in this building right now. And so, for example, we've remodeled and added a behind the scenes kitchen that's on the arena floor, which most fans won't ever see. But you need more kitchens when you have more point of sales and you're selling more food, which we have where as well. One of the concourse level, what are called belly up stands. Belly up is an old phrase for literally you belly up to the bar, and the way F&B used to look like, you'd kind of stand up there, your belly would be at height length. Another one of those are getting converted to self-service. That's going to happen as well. So, but that will be the kind of changes that maybe fans are used to now, because we've been doing it almost every summer for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. This approval came, somewhat later in the cycle than we originally hoped for, to be quite transparent. And so it's unclear to me as we sit today whether we'd be able to get all the designs done and approved by the city and the Department of Public Works. And there's a long list of agencies and that you have to get approval before you can do construction. If we don't get them approved, we won't be able to do as big of a construction in the summer of 26 as maybe we originally hoped for. So my guess, and this is not final because we have, 9 months to sort all this out. My guess is we'll do a bigger construction than normal in summer 26 than we have the last few, but not yet a gigantic one. My guess as we sit today is the gigantic one won't happen until the first gigantic one until summer of 27. But I don't know that yet. And I think that's one of the most interesting and maybe frustrating things for fans, which is I don't have designs yet. I don't have a schedule worked out yet. We didn't know if we were going to get approval for sure. That process can literally start today.
And it's fun that it's like you didn't know, but then it comes through unanimous 11-0. I think I knew.
My thanks to the city council. I don't track their every vote, but in general, governments don't typically unanimously vote yes on almost anything in today's society. So I am very happy that this was unanimous. I'm thankful, but I'm a tiny bit surprised.
Well, and it's funny you say that. We were both there yesterday for the afternoon session. There were multiple votes, and I don't believe any single one that we saw wasn't unanimous.
That was, I'm told, an unusual session where, I think there was one or two where somebody abstained, but there was no votes. That's right.
Well, I know the renderings that were shared are very much conceptual.
Yes.
Several of them, however, show new wide entrances from the club level. Between that and other changes, is the tank going to lose a significant amount of seating?
Yeah, so I saw, I can't look at every social media post on every platform, even though
You can't?
No. Although I'm relatively active on many platforms, so I see a bunch. And I did say that was a frequent conclusions that fans made, and I'm happy to debunk that. Whether the exact number is still 17.4 or 17.5 or 17.3 or maybe a bit more, we won't go below 17. And there's a I would say a higher probability that we gain seats than there is that we lose seats. Again, final construction drawings are not done yet, so I can't tell you the number. What I will tell you is we have a number of design principles. One design principle is unless there's a compelling reason we shouldn't have fewer seats than we have now. Another design principle, which I think people picked up on, is you should be able to see in the bowl from multiple places. I think the only conceptual rendering that people picked up on, because I think it's the only one we released, you could see in from wider things on what we currently call the club level. It's probably not going to be called that when we're done, which maybe if you want to talk about, we can talk about that. I suspect you probably will be able to see into the bowl from the concourse level, or at least what we currently call the concourse level. The arena level might change its configuration quite a bit as well, and maybe you'll be able to see in the bowl there. I haven't given up the hope that maybe we'll have something a little bit like the view space that we have at Tech CU Arena at the arena level. Don't know yet. Please don't hold me to that, but that among the things that we're experimenting with right now, and we'd like to reimagine the penthouse level as well. So being able to open up the bowl so that you don't have to necessarily be inside to get a peek at the action is a design criteria. How often it happens and where, too early for me to tell you.
Now, what about all the kind of the back of house stuff? I mean, are we talking upgrades basically like specific for artists and shows that come through, space for them? What about moving the visitor dressing room, expanding the Sharks dressing room, all the stuff at kind of the lowest bowl level, the bowels of the building?
Yeah, so my friends over at the city kind of divulged a little bit of our plans there in their own talk during the city hall meeting yesterday. But yes, that event level, as it's often called, will be completely reimagined. That's the one part of the building that the before and after is probably going to be the most different. Again, I'll oversimplify because we don't know all the details yet because we still haven't finished all these designs. But we want to dramatically improve the areas of the buildings for the visiting artists, the musical acts, etc. Ignore hockey for a moment. The artist that has essentially been unchanged since it was originally designed in 1989 and first opened in 1993. And if you go around the country and see what the back of house looks for musical artists now, they often include eating areas, gyms, private things, green rooms, a bunch of things that were never considered in the late 80s and early 90s, and we don't have any of those. And we need a lot more of that. And so we will probably, maybe even almost certainly, somewhere between those two levels of confidence, I think, reserve half the building on that side to make it a much more attractive artist area as well. And by artists, I mean musical artists and the associated people. That will then take over the space that's currently the visiting locker room, which will then allow us to move the visiting locker room over to the home locker room side, which means that we got to rethink what the benches look like and where the players come and leave the ice as well. We'll still have the iconic shark head, 99.9% confidence, etc. But we might have to re-engineer that VOM in some way. VOM, for those who don't know that word, is the entrance area as well. Will the players still skate in the same way? Unclear. Will there be a single tunnel between the two benches as they are now? Probably not. There might be two tunnels on each side of it. I'd love to get the visiting goalie out of the audience, which is where now.
I don't know that Sharky wants that, but okay.
Fair enough, but I think it's probably the right thing to do for a professional player to not have him to sit in the middle of the audience. The benches themselves have gotten wider over the years. Ours are a bit small. We probably need to widen the benches, which means we need to rethink the area behind the benches, including those seats. And yeah, that all has to be redone.
So,
by the way, AJ, are you getting a sense that this is going to be a pretty big renovation?
It could be. It could be significant. Now, in the documentation, there's several mentions of a downtown sports and entertainment district. Yeah. And so I'm wondering, what do you envision? Are you looking at what other teams have done? And regardless of the sport they play, whether it's football or whatever, I mean, are you envisioning something like what the Coyotes used to have, where it was a whole...
I'm unfamiliar with this thing called the Coyotes. What is that?
They used to be a hockey team, believe it or
Oh, you
not.
mean the Desert Dogs?
Yes.
Uh,
So what are you envisioning? I mean, in along with all the redevelopment of the tank, what about plans for the surrounding areas? I know like 160 North Montgomery was mentioned. There's always, of course, Arena Green across the street. There's the corner of Autumn and what will eventually be Sharks Way. So all of that happening, is that part and parcel of the entertainment district idea that you have?
yeah, so I think this is of all the things that people heard, read, and guessed about. This was probably the one that was most misinterpreted by the general public, probably because it was the most confusing because we said the least about.
Mm.
And the short answer is whatever that is, the entertainment district, et cetera, is currently being driven by the city and not by Shark Sports and Entertainment.
Gotcha.
We will obviously consult and we may take a large role in it at some point. But this is the city doing what I respect, which is proper planning for their own future. The one line that I think some people saw, but maybe not others, is the city and Shark Sports Entertainment jointly agreed that we could renovate and should renovate the building, but that it was unlikely that another major renovation would ever happen. Once we got the end of this lease, 2051, which is a date I think that freaked a lot of people out because it's hard to imagine 2051 as we sit here in 2025.
I don't know. Simply because I remember the last extension where it was like 10 years ago. There was a 10-year thing, and then after that, it would be year to year until 2040.
Right.
And I remember, well, 10 years, and it's like it's already
Think about it.
it's already
That's
passed.
that's exactly the point. I love what the city managers and the mayor and the council members are doing. They're saying we're going to get to that end of that 25 years sooner than anybody thinks.
Yeah.
If we aren't good stewards of our own city and wait till too late, there may not be the appropriate land or infrastructure or all that to make a decision of what's next. So let's have a conversation with the Sharks now. Actually, now was, for those who missed it, over the next 2 years, and talk about very different possibilities, and not, by the way, pick one answer and set it in stone, but rather have some options so that we can further develop those options. So as we, the city, create a long-term plan, we make sure that there's always a vibrant arena and something even better, an entertainment district as part about that. So that was the core element, a city-driven thing, which we will be happily participate in, not a Sharks-driven thing. The second thing that you sort of alluded to is we have been increasingly extending our reach outside the building that we love. We raised our hands and are now, I think, I forget what the official word is, stewards of the Arena Green. We clean it up periodically. We have another cleanup day on September 3rd. Any fan that wants to come down and help us clean it up is more than welcome to do that as well. We're called the Finns of Arena Green because we always have to have a pun on a shark thing, etc. We helped clean up the Milligan area. Remember some of the burnt out buildings as well. We've sponsored, and soon you'll start seeing signs of Sharks Way. We want to create a pedestrian friendly way to get from downtown. Was that Pavelski?
Yes.
From downtown to the SAP Center. So yes, we're doing more outside of our doors, but it's premature to declare this is the next entertainment district.
And I know I've been bringing this up for the last 5 years. Does the Downtown West project and everything with Google and all of that, is that going to factor into any of those plans?
The throwaway answer was I don't know yet. The slightly more nuanced answer is it certainly seems plausible as the city does their 25-year plan that integrating whatever Downtown West ends up being, because we don't know, the official Downtown West is still on pause. That seems like a potential place to consider to build an entertainment district. Yes, but I don't think that's the. In fact, I shouldn't say I don't think. I know that's not the only option. That's a viable option, but there are other options as well.
All right, and would you mind talking about a new arena for a moment?
I don't mind talking about it. What would you like to talk about? I like this arena.
I love this arena too, but a location for a new arena will be determined by September 27. So for me, it's the most obvious location is across the street, is across Santa Clara Street.
Across the street from your house or across the street from where we are now?
From where you are now,
Okay.
across Santa Clara Street. But I do believe during the council meeting, I thought I had heard that the current parking lot that is attached to SAP is kind of an option being kept in the back pocket if a different preferred location doesn't become available. My point being, do you already have a couple options in mind? Like this is probably the best,
Uh, Best is a tough word.
or makes the most sense.
This is what it's hard to get into, hundreds of hours of nuance in a short soundbite on a podcast.
Yeah.
I'll do my best to not shy away from the answer, but it's hard to give the subtleties to that, which is my guess is we will not determine a location for a future arena. We will determine several locations for a potential future arena, and then we will rank them based on a small number, call it 5 to 7 criteria. And they will become a preferred option and 2 or maybe 3 backup options. And then other things that we consider, but chose not to do as well. You picked one that's a potential, although, depending on what happens to BART and Girardon Station, they may take over that area as well. There may not be room to both. Sure, people have proposed that the parking lots behind our building called ABC is potential as well. The original ballpark where an unnamed sports team was going to go to many years ago is another potential option.
Which again is basically across Santa Clara Street.
Well, it's much further down than that, but yes.
Yeah.
There's quite a few other parking lots and vacant areas near the 87. There are some downtime parcels that are unused right now. There are other spots in the city of San Jose that are, in fact, I think 2 city council members said move to my district. So I
Yeah, I looked on the map on one of those and I was like, you've got to be kidding. I mean, I would imagine ingress and egress is like one of the top,
for sure, ingress and egress are top 3. No question about that. And I would say, I think most Shark fans recognize that's one of the best parts of the current building. I can't claim it's the easiest to get in and out of at any building in the U.S., but it's got to be top 10.
I've never had an issue, and, recently for the first time ever, this year, I've gone to 3 Giants games, and used to always be somebody who was, I like to come and go on my time.
Yep.
So I would always drive and prepay for a parking spot and all of that. And this year, 3 times we've taken Caltrain now that they've got the nice electric trains and the AC works and everything. And it's been a fantastic experience. So for anybody who is on along the peninsula, if you want to go to a Sharks game, like that's the way I would do it. With the new trains, I mean, because obviously a lot of stuff is ingress, egress. With those new trains, are they running later by any chance? Because besides,
I was going to be one of the things I was going to quote unquote announce on the show, which is, you may remember for many years we had to do that public service announcement late in the 3rd period, which was, please leave now or you'll miss the last train. Now Caltrain is leaving 15 minutes after the game is over. So
and combine that with the fact that all the games are starting a half an hour early this season.
Yes, exactly right. So you can, if you're on the peninsula, you can safely take Caltrain, and we encourage you to do so to games. That way you can also partake of your favorite beverage and not have to worry.
Absolutely. And it's so much cheaper than parking and gas and everything. When it comes to the new arena, do you have a capacity?
Being old school and assuming people have gas. They may have electric cars.
That's true. When it comes to a new arena, what do you have a target capacity in mind by any chance? Like, do you want to get something that is, world class? Like I know that if you want to host a Super Bowl, the venue has to have a certain amount of seating available. Are there other specialty things that you would need a certain amount of seats available?
Uh, there, there are reasons to go smaller and there are reasons to go bigger. We've not even come close to having a real discussion about that right now. What I would say is if and when we get to the point that we are designing a new arena, and AJ, I want to calm everyone down. We're a long way away from that.
Yeah.
So you're
25 years.
wildly speculative at this point. I think, like we have in many other things, we'd want to say, let's be different. As an example, I don't think we'll end up doing this. Why has no arena ever had a retractable roof? Now, there are some real issues with open air and frozen ice and things like that, but the ice is melted during the summer. And would we want to be an outdoor arena during the summer? I don't know. It's worth exploring. And
It would make arena football really interesting.
yes. And so we have, I don't know, I don't want to make up a number, 20 wild, I almost used a word I shouldn't use on a podcast, crazy ideas that we will probably chase down in the next decade. I don't know, maybe one comes to fruition, but it's worth exploring.
We'll see. You kind of leading me into the next question. Then, are you going to consider other sports? And again, we're so far from designing a new arena, but would that be taken into account
in the crazy idea list? That is certainly one of them. Yes. Let's come back to now, though. That you're far enough away that you're confusing fans, I think, at this point.
Well, I'm dying to see what the outside are like. It looks like there's two banners there. Are those going to be
those were not banners. Those were digital displays.
Okay, and we're talking kind of a Vegas-y, the.
Oh, come on! Could you pick someplace else other than that?
Okay, Times Square.
Thank you.
But huge LED panels, and I'm seeing on the display or the rendering of the outside, looks like you've added, or the display has LED lights going down, strips of LEDs going down each, I don't know what that is, girder or something, but fact of the matter is all of these LED things, all of this signage, it's all digital. It gives you the ability to switch on a dime from, tonight is shark stuff, so it's like put in color teal and do all this, exactly. And then the next day Billie Eilish is here, change all the colors, do something, whatever she wants. And then, the next day is Disney on Ice, and you can do all that stuff. So the tank obviously remains pretty autonomous in that regard. And I'm assuming that's going to continue with all of this reno?
Yes. And so back to the thing I said at the beginning of this, which is what are some of the design principles? We talked a couple of them. One of it is we still want to be 150 to 180 events a year, of which hockey is, let's call it 50, because I don't know how long the season will get by the 2050. That's a joke for those of you trying to interpret it. But yes, we want the building to be able to adapt its personality on the fly. Conversions are often 12 hours. We've done a good job of skinning them down to 8. We'd love conversions to be able to get down to 2 or 3 hours over time. I don't know that we'll do that, immediately. But if you can skin the outside of the building as part of your conversion as well, that's a beneficial thing. When we host NCAA men's basketball Final Four, which hopefully we will, let's just skin it as basketball. Other thing is, at some point, maybe there's a very large crowd watching a game outside the building because they can't get inside the building because, et cetera. We'd like to be able to display the game to them while they're outside as well. And maybe we don't need to rent a projector or screens because the building itself is a screen. So there are lots of possibilities. Again, that's a rendering. That's not been approved by any agency in San Jose yet, but we wanted to show the kinds of things we're going to try to get done.
So 26, October of 26 October of 26, fans might start to see some changes.
Well, you'll see some changes when you show up on opening night this year, but it'll be consistent with the changes you've seen in past years. The following season, you'll see even more changes, and likely the season after that, you'll see some gigantic ones.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to mention that maybe, you've already mentioned on social media that certain people maybe may have misinterpreted things. Is there anything else you would like to clear up before we finish?
Yeah, maybe just two things that are strongly related. One is the terms of this agreement do not allow us to change the square footage of the building. So we are not making the building wider. Because we're making the building wider, the concourse is not getting wider. I think people misinterpreted one of the people at the city's comments. However, we do agree that the concourse gets too crowded, particularly during sellout games. And so one of the design criteria is how do we get people off the concourse? And I often say, although it's not technically true, that we're basically a one concourse building because the penthouse level isn't really a concourse. You have to be up there in the suites. The club level isn't really a concourse because you have to have club access seats as well. We want to change that design criteria so there are more ways to access the penthouse, more ways to access the club, and potentially a new level that doesn't exist now. And I think the renderings gave homage to a mid-level. We don't know exactly yet. Does that go all the way around the building? Is that limited, et cetera? I guess the thing I said live during the city council meeting is we were to do everything we originally thought we might want to do. That was a $900 million renovation. We didn't end up with $900 million to spend. So clearly we're going to have to leave some good ideas on the cutting room table. Give me 6 or 9 months and we'll know which of those are left and which still survive.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and trying to just clear up some of that stuff. But congratulations on this extension. Obviously, keeping them here for another 25 years plus, because obviously a new arena will come after those 25 years. So hopefully another 25 years of that afterwards. So thanks again.
Appreciate it, AJ. Take care.